My name is Megan Rosari. I know some of the folks in this room, but I am with Calvin. We work with retirees at AFT National and try to develop some programming that's interesting and intriguing to all of you. And so today we have two guests, two 30-minute sessions. Alex from our communications department and Luis from our data department have gracefully agreed to help us kind of just give a quick overview of how we can do some of these things better as retiree program and leaders trying to develop an organized approach to our retiree building of power. So I'll let Alex take it from there.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Colombo. I work in the communications department at AFT National, specifically in the digital corner of the communications department. We are the ones responsible for everything social media, email, and website related. So if you have any questions about any of that, please, by all means, message me, email me, put it in the chat towards the end. The retiree folks asked me to talk to you all today about Facebook, and in particular about Facebook moderation and best practices around moderating and misinformation and disinformation. So I have a couple quick slides to show. I'm happy to share this slideshow after the presentation is over, and I will keep an eye on the chat for any questions. I may turn my camera off just because I have two monitors and I don't want to seem like I'm ignoring you. I just want to actually read what I'm presenting to you. So I'm going to shut off my camera, I'm going to share the screen, and let's get going. All right, can everyone see what I am seeing right now? Is it a slideshow that you're seeing? Okay, perfect. All right, so today we are going to be talking about everything in moderation, Facebook moderator best practices, because your girl loves a good pun as the title of her slideshow. Before we get started, as always, the mission of the AFT is a union of professionals that champions fairness, democracy, economic opportunity, and high quality public education, healthcare, and public services for our students, their families, and our communities. We are committed to advancing these principles through community engagement, organizing, collective bargaining, and political activism, and especially through the work that our members do. Obviously, you all know this because you have taken time out of your retirement to continue working on the ideals of this union and continue your activism. And for that, I want to say thank you, because I don't know how much people say thank you to y'all before. So in this training, we are going to just do a quick introduction of who I am. We are going to go through some Facebook moderator duties, some best practices, a quick information or a misinformation and disinformation, kind of disambiguation, fact-checking best practices, and final thoughts. And like Calvin and Megan were saying before, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat and I will answer them as soon as I can see them and as soon as I can. So a little bit about me. As you can see, I used to have purple hair. I'm not fun anymore. My name is Alex Colombo. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm a digital specialist here at AFT. I've been here since the 2018 elections. Before that, I was doing social media and email over at AFGE National, which is the American Federation of Government Employees. It's actually right next door to AFT. I primarily work with the Action Network, which is our email, petition, letter campaign, and our management system of all of our constituents. And I help out with social media, specifically Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And in addition to all that, we have contact points in the digital department. So I work with the folks in the Great Lakes, the higher ed department, healthcare workers, and retirees like you all. So to get started, obviously everyone here I think is familiar with Facebook using it as an individual. But I think it's important to go through what exactly a Facebook moderator is and what the expectations are of it, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Facebook moderation is the next in line to the administrator in terms of hierarchy. It's the admin who chooses the moderator or moderators and delegates the roles and responsibilities to them. The main goal of the moderator and the main job of the moderator is to make sure that the Facebook group is efficiently functioning. And what I mean by that is you're posting content relevant to the group or the page that you're moderating. You are encouraging respectful and constructive conversations on the topics that you're talking about. and you're enforcing the expectations and the norms of the group or page. In this case, we're talking about the Facebook group that the retirees have, which is really impressive, and I've seen some really wonderful discussions in there. So kudos to you all for getting it going and keeping the community engaged, and keeping it running as smoothly as you have. So I pulled these from the retirees Facebook group. These are the norms and the expectations that you've set for the group, which I'm sure you are all familiar with: being kind and courteous, no hate speech or bullying, no promotions or spam, respecting everyone's privacy, and keeping it relevant. I think those are all really wonderful rules. It still encourages free discussion of the topics in the group without being too stymieing, but it does stay reasonable and make sure that everything is productive and constructive. It goes pretty nicely with the norms set by the AFT National Facebook page, which is not a group, it's a public page. It's permitted to promoting a positive and respectful environment, free of discrimination and harassment. Any commenters are expected to abide by that, and repeated warnings to people who have disobeyed or not chosen to abide by those standards may lead to removal from the community. So, okay, I didn't know how far the bullet points went on this page, and that's why I keep backtracking. Can everyone see and read the font? I tried to go as legible as I could for my own sake as well as everyone else's. Awesome. So the best practices of a moderator start when people are added to the group. You want to be welcoming to the people in the group to show them that they are part of a community that will respect their opinion, hear their voice, and have discussions with them on different topics related that you are all interested in. You will follow up on conversations and comments in a consistent and timely manner to make sure that no one has a question and is left hanging, or makes a comment that needs response. You respond to questions from the group users and approve and decline the posts and new members in a timely manner. I would flag here, again, I'm pretty sure this is common knowledge, but I would never approve a post or a new group member without first verifying the post or the new group member. And I think it's also important to note that with regards to what is posted in the Facebook group, there's an important distinction to be made between what is relevant to the retiree group and what would be best posted on your personal page. I'll give you an example. If there is an appeal for disaster relief from AFT, for example, there was the appeal we put out recently for donations for Ukraine, where we are sending money over to the relief groups and the teachers unions in Poland so that they can assist people on the ground. I think something like that would be relevant to the retirees group because it is an appeal from your union. Everyone in the group is on the same page as far as being a member of the union and being interested in union goings on. So that would be appropriate for the group. I think if it was an individual fundraising venture for a friend of a member of the group, I think you would have to be a little bit more discerning. If it was a member that a lot of people knew, maybe, but it might be best put on your own personal page. That is just one example. I'm sure there are many, many. And if you have any questions, we can absolutely talk through stuff at the end of the presentation. Kind of going from there on the topic of approving group members and approving posts, I think it's important to talk about misinformation and disinformation, especially when it comes to social media. There's a quick disambiguation. Misinformation is false information that is spread whether or not the person knew that it was false or intended to mislead people. And disinformation is false information that is purposely planted to mislead people. I just want to separate those two, not because they spread differently on social media, just because sometimes knowing the intent of the post or the person posting it is important and can help inform you of what you want to do next with that information. Either way, whether it's misinformation or disinformation, social media is a really powerful tool, and as you already know, posts spread like wildfire. So it is the moderator's job to stop this spread or curb this spread. It's important when you see misinformation or disinformation to hide the comment and politely tell the user that posted it what they posted is inaccurate so that they can check their own sources. I would also warn them that repeated postings of inaccurate information going forward could be grounds for removal from the group. And we say this not to be punishing of people's ideas or posts or trying to patrol what people say so much as we know that the reputation of this union is an educational union. We want people to continue to trust us when it comes to education, to healthcare, to financial stuff. And we know that the good reputation of our social media is built on the fact that we don't mislead folks. And I do not want to see, our social media accounts used to spread false information, no matter how good the intentions are. And that includes the retiree group, that includes the healthcare folks, that includes AFT. If we can't be trusted, it denigrates our trust outside of social media. So when we talk about fact checking and kind of vetting things before they are put up on the page, it's important, as simple as this seems, did you read the whole article? Now, I am fully guilty of skimming things on social media myself. We've all done it. But it's important, if you're unsure about something, especially, definitely read the whole article. Make sure that there's no way that it could be misconstrued in a way that would be detrimental to the group or to the union. It's important to ask who shared the content in question, whether it's a reputable news source. Is it widely available from a bunch of different sources, or did you just see one or two people talking about it? If it's new and it's a news and a breaking story, sometimes you might only see a few people talking about it. And sometimes in those cases, it's good to wait until you see more people picking it up, verifying it, vetting it before sharing it, just in case something needs to be checked. Seeing where the content is originally from. Sometimes, especially in our media landscape now online, aggregate news sites take information from other places and just kind of put it all in one spot. So just because you saw it on, for example, the Huffington Post, they may not have written it. They may have gotten it from somewhere else. And it's important to check the original source of that story to make sure that you trust it, that you think it's solid before sharing it out, just in case it's not. It's also important to see when the article was published, because sometimes information is outdated. I'll give you an example. In the past, we have posted, sadly, about shootings in schools. And as more information is posted, sometimes the old story becomes irrelevant or inaccurate. So it's important to try and post the most timely article that you can. We've also done this, we would share a story, something to do with student loan forgiveness. And then when we go to read the article that we were considering posting, we see that it was from, November of 2021. And while there may be good points in that article to be made and pulled out, you want to make sure that all of the information is current so that you're giving people the most up-to-date information so they can decide what to do with it. When you're checking the stories that you're posting, what account shared this information and when was the account created? Is it a reputable news source, or is it a newly created account? Is it sharing news from all over the world at weird times? Because if so, it could be a false account or a bot built for this purpose. This is obviously not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, but it is important that if you see who the source is and what else they are sharing, if it doesn't pass the smell test, I would avoid posting it. And maybe the most important is, what is the goal or the intention of the content? If the goal or the intention of the content is to inform, that's solid. If the goal or intention of the content is to inflame feelings or to inspire action, I think it needs to get a second look. So in our quest to try and post timely, accurate information, I do want to kind of give a shout out to NewsGuard. NewsGuard is a program and an AFT member benefit. It is free for our members and retirees. It's mostly used for teachers, but it scores news and information websites on 9 different journalistic criteria. And it basically gives you a green light or a red light, whether or not a story or a news source is trustworthy. If you are interested, I know it's in the AFT member benefits page, and it's also at newsguardtech.com/AFT. I will share that again at the end of the presentation. It's a pretty good guide marker if you're unsure of whether or not a news source is worth sharing, to be trusted, or if you want to do a little bit more investigation. And then my final thoughts would be the AFT retirees group should be a reliable source of information for retirees with a robust but respectful and constructive conversation. It is up to us as moderators to keep it that way, and that duty starts with ourselves. So we need to not only kind of enforce these norms and guidelines to make sure that people feel comfortable having these conversations in our group, but we also need to check ourselves and make sure that what we are sharing is the most accurate, the least biased. You know, we need to practice what we preach here. And I think that we all have the power to do that. I am confident that everyone here wants the same thing, which is to have a growing, active community of people who talk about things that are important to themselves and to the union, without any feelings getting hurt or any bad information spreading unknowingly. And that's basically what I got. So Tom Hanks and I thank you. Again, my name is Alex Palumbo. This is my email address and my phone number at AFT. And I am more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. And hopefully I didn't talk too fast. All right. I'm gonna stop the share and I will go back on camera now. I don't see any questions in the chat yet, but if I miss any, thank you, Janita, for my chart. That actually was from the 2019 strike, so that's why I was in it.
I've never known our retirees to be shy, so please feel free to ask any questions of Alex. We have some time in this agenda for questions. So at this point, if you do have a question, you don't need to put it in the chat, just raise your hand either visibly so that we can try and keep a stack, or also you can raise your hand through the raise hand feature on the bottom of the screen under reactions. It gives you the option for raise hand. I see Joyce has a hand up and then Beverly.
Thanks, Alex. That was informative, but incredibly fast. And I'm a devoted note taker, so you are going to make the presentation available. That's great. Because when it comes to best practices and using the news guard, and I have a specific, I'm one of the moderators for the Facebook retiree group page. And a question that I end up discussing frequently with Calvin and Megan is, I am personally, not at their direction, I personally am extremely leery of posting anything that is direct support of a specific candidate, especially for candidates who are already running for 2024. And because I don't know about the AFT page, I'm going to be honest, I do not particularly enjoy Facebook, and I don't visit I haven't visited the AFT active page. So, because to me, that's not something that should be the aim of the retiree group. Our aim should be, when we post things about WEP, GPO, Social Security, when people ask questions about how to encourage membership in their local, those kinds of things. That's my vision. Am I wrong? Number one. Are we in conflict with AFT if articles about or by declared or potential candidates out of line with AFT's, I don't want to say rules, let's say guidelines?
So that's a great question. Typically, when it comes to the AFT main page, we do post about some candidates that are running in the 2022 or 2024 elections, but we typically only do that once we have named them as an endorsed candidate. We do try to keep it more, because I mean, politics are important to our members, especially, you know, when the candidates in question have so much power over retirement, over the way we teach about healthcare. et
Right,
cetera.
right.
I
And
do
I'm
understand
sorry,
the hesitation.
endorsed by whom?
Endorsed by the AFT.
Okay,
That's typically the rule that we stick to. And again, we try to do things that are a little bit more issue based rather than a candidate until they are endorsed. And then you might see posts about the endorsed candidates come through. I completely understand your hesitation, and I think it's a matter of comfort, and I think it's something that the moderators of the Facebook group have to think about together and agree about what they are most comfortable with in the group. But I will say, from the AFT main page, we typically do not post about named candidates until they are endorsed. And it's usually, even then, it's like, oh, Randy did an event with blah, blah, blah. Or so-and-so wrote a really good op-ed about student debt and why it should be forgiven, for example. Things like that. Does that answer your question?
pretty much. So when I see Friends of Candidate X 2024, and I know that candidate is not endorsed by AFT, then it should not be posted.
I think that would make more sense posting to a personal account rather than the AFT group page. I think that's a good example of what would make sense, you know, to be posted in the retiree group versus what you can use your personal page for. I think your personal page, if you're ever unsure about posting it in the retiree group, maybe defer to your personal page.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, Beverly and then Pamela.
Well, thank you. I do the Facebook administration for our retired group here in Pasco County. And earlier in the spring, AFT in their virtual conference had a whole session on misinformation, disinformation, which was excellent. Many of the members in our group are not only digital immigrants, they are digitally hesitant. So how do I know if something is a bot or not? What are the characteristics that I should be looking out for?
It's a great question. I think the first step in terms of vetting your group members are, you know, checking the roles, talking to the local leaders to say, do you know this person? Do you recognize this profile? I know some people don't always use their real, like, actual name on Facebook, so sometimes that gets tricky. I know especially people in my generation, we've grown up with Facebook and we're told, like, they will look at your profile when you're interviewed for a job, and people change their names a little bit. So I completely understand the difficulty of making sure people are who they say they are. There's not always a hard and fast rule of figuring out who a bot is or who is trying to pass themselves off as someone else, but some good indicators are, what does their profile picture look like? Is it a generic one? Is it the kind of blank space that comes with the account when it's first started, or is it a picture of them? I would, if you're able to see their friend list, do you have any mutual friends? How many friends do they have? If it's like 20, it could either mean that the profile was just started, or they're a very private person and they haven't gotten to it, or if the person is being kind of cloned or spammed by someone else, it could show that there's only a few friends because their other profile exists and they don't know they've been kind of had. I think if you look at an account and you see that there are a lot of kind of spammy posts, if it looks really, like, it'll say on the account, like, when the profile was started. If it's really recent and you don't trust it, I would be wary. But again, it's very case by case, and there's no real hard and fast rule. I am going to try and find, there's a really wonderful quiz to kind of try your knowledge at, to identify who is a real account and who is not, just to get some better ideas of tricks that people use. I'm going to look for that and I'll add it into the chat if I can find it. But those are a couple signs, you know. Especially if the person, like, never followed you before, if you've never heard of them, if they come out of the woodwork, there's a good chance that, you know, someone posted something to get people upset and they came to the group to attack it, which is what I'm going through on Twitter right now. So good times.
Next up, we had Pamela.
Good afternoon. I'm a newly retired nurse, And I was not aware that there was a retiree Facebook page. So how would I find it? And, you know, how are you monitoring who signs up? Can the nurses sign up, or is it just teachers?
I'm going to allow Megan to talk about this one.
Every retiree that has been part of AFT is welcome to join the Facebook group. There's no limit on constituency. This is a national program, and so this is a national group. And we encourage you to share the information with others as you talk to other retirees. The Facebook group, the way to find it, Chris did put it in the chat, but it's just www.facebook.com/groups. And the link is in the chat. We'll also include it in the follow-up email with the information from today.
Thank you.
And for anybody who doesn't see you just left off the very end bit, Megan. It was facebook.com/groups/AFT retirees, which is an important part.
Yeah, it'll route you properly, I believe, and that brings you to the landing page.
And may I ask on behalf of the moderators that you please answer the 4 questions. They're as simple as, from what local did you retire and what state do you live in? If you could give us a contact information, either an email or a cell phone, and do you agree to follow the rules? But you'd be amazed. I have about 7 people waiting to be approved after this meeting, and I think 1 answered the questions.
Those questions are incredibly useful and incredibly helpful in trying to spot who is legitimate and who is not. And it's not to gatekeep so much as just verify that you are who you say you are. Like, I don't want to let in a fake Joyce if the real one didn't know about the group. You know what I mean?
And I'll just add on at the end here. It's great we have Joyce on. She does fantastic work for the group, and she's also a fantastically busy person in general with her union business and many other things that she does. And so our other moderators for the group are very similarly busy and very similarly wonderful. I know we have a lot of wonderful people on this call. If anyone is interested in helping us moderate our Facebook group, feel free to reach out to us. We can post our emails in the chat, or you can just let us know in the chat if you feel comfortable doing that. We are looking for a few new moderators to help with share the workload for our group. So it would be great to hear from any of you.
Yes.
And that brings us to 4:30. So if there are no more pressing questions on Facebook, I would transition over to Luis and Larufus.
Hi, everyone. My name is Luis Ramirez, and I am the data manager for the data and analytics team. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my presentation here real quick, my slideshow, just a quick second. See if I can. All right, so are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see the slideshow?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, so again, my name is Luis Ramirez, and I am in the data and analytics team as part of the membership data and analytics department at the AFT. We do have a team mission inside our own department, and that is to collect and import affiliate membership files in an efficient, accurate, and consistent process. And this improves and strengthens our data platform so that our union can best serve our members. It also helps us make valuable and sound decisions during campaigns and moments of crisis. So just a little bit of background, our department has about 30 staff and consultants, and our data and analytics team itself has about 8 staff members. along with other 8 campaign and affiliate support members. And we are all here to support you and your needs on the affiliate level. So all the tools that we offer, we've developed ourselves or work closely with a developer, and we support fully. Now, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the data. And to start the discussion here, we're going to make data an asset. So build your list before you need them and then maintain them. This is very important, right? So whatever you have, whatever list you have, maybe you don't have a 100% full list of all the retirees that should come from the local. We want to make sure that you are that whatever you have is a starting point. And data is about building your list and ongoing and forever. So you do have to maintain it. We do have to keep up with it in order to maintain the data. And what information should you track in your databases? This is what we can track right now currently in Connect and any of our platforms. And then who is supportive? Who is supportive about your issues, about what's happening with your local, what's happening with your retiree group? And who is working in opposition, which I guess maybe doesn't necessarily directly affect in this scenario. And then what do people care about? What have people taken action about? And what's the best method to communicate with people, which kind of goes along with, I think, what Alex was actually talking about. Now, what I'm going to talk a little bit now is about our process, our data process with basically your list of individuals is how I'm going to refer to it, which is your retired members. And how do we use that data in the AFT ecosystem, and how you can actually take that data and make it work, right? So we start with the retiree local data collection. So that you receive this information directly via a file from the previous president, from the previous person that maybe had this information on the local level. And then the other option that you have is maybe the employer provides a retiree list at the end of the year that actually lets you know who has retired. And this actually is your starting point to have an idea who is actually part of your retiree membership. And then some of the other options also include the actual live employer, and that's how I'm going to refer to the actual local that has the live employer. To the live employer local might actually share that list with you directly or transfer those records to you directly. So that's going to be step 1, which is the collection of the records, like who are the people, who are my retired members, right? Then from there, we move on to the file submission to AFT or an update in AFT Connect. And I will explain what AFT Connect means a little bit in a couple of slideshows here. So for the file submission, you have an option of submitting a file directly to us. And then this would actually upload the roster into your database. Or you have the option of, we can train you in AFT Connect, and you have the option of updating and actually maintaining your own records in AFT Connect. And then what happens when you submit that information, it actually comes to our team, and then we process the file and then convert that file into actual data and records within your own database. And the final product is the data is updated in Connect. And then I will talk actually how that kind of flows into our ecosystem. So the data that we receive, the first point here is going to be the affiliate. So from the affiliate, the data flows into the Connect database after you submit the file. And then the Connect database actually is plugged into multiple platforms. So depending on what you've actually enrolled or what you're interested in having for different outreach for your membership, the data automatically goes to the AFL-CIO, which actually is the LAN as well. And it also can flow into Action Network if you're doing outreach via Action Network. Same thing for Hustle, which is our texting platform. And then Action Builder, which is something that comes in the future, but that's mostly for organizing and keeping track of conversations with members. And then in addition to this, Connect database does have an online membership form component actually that will be attached to it. Now, all of this data actually goes into what we call our Civis, which is our connectivity hub. And what it does, it actually pulls all these different platforms. So Action Network as an example, right? You send an email to a few people, a targeted group maybe, that you pull that information from your Connect database. And then those responses or maybe that activity that happens for those members, we can actually track that and then put it back into Connect. So then that flows back to you, the affiliate. So it's a cycle, and then everything kind of shares with one another. And the important thing here, the focus is that your data is not going to a silo. It's not going to its own separate entity. It's actually it becomes more powerful because it's being flowed through the LAN, it's being flowed through other political information as well that actually appends information to your records. So you actually end up getting more information back than the one you put in. Now, what I'm going to do real quick here, I'm just going to give you a quick little sneak peek at Connect. And then just to kind of show you what it looks like and how easy it can be. It is a tool, a whole new tool. So it might take a little bit of adjustment at first, but we do provide full training for it. And just a minute here. Again, we do provide full support. So Connect can be found at connect.aft.org. That's the web address. It is a web-based application. It does have actually a mobile component. That means that you can use it on your phone. You can use it on your iPad if you're traveling or if you happen to be in a different location where you don't have your physical computer. So it is accessible everywhere. It's essentially kind of like a cloud-based with servers that are actually located at the AFT. So for this exercise or this demonstration, what I'm going to do here, and that's saying that I'm going to go into the United Educators of San Francisco. They've agreed to help us today to do the demo and show you what this looks like. This is a live employer local in San Francisco, and they're predominantly a teachers and PSRP local. So what you're seeing right now, it's basically the roster of their current again, live employer membership. And in this example, local 61 has actually a retiree local that's chartered at 61R. And they've agreed to have data sharing practices so that when a member retires from local 61, the person automatically gets put in 61R, meaning in the retiree local. So they don't have to do any extra steps. They don't have to do anything special. Anytime anyone retires, then that record automatically just appears in 61R. So for this example, I'm going to use our training name that we usually use to make sure that we can find it. And it's going to be, as you can see, it's very easy to find the name. So very easy to find the record here. So we have Pink Panther, And right now, when I click on the record, I can see some of the basic information here. So it shows me home address, email, phone, and then when did they become a union member here? I can see that, right? And then I can see their member ID, which is also very important for their member benefits. So in this example, we're gonna pretend that they retired on May 1st. And then this step, you don't have to do yourself, but this is a step that basically the affiliate would do. So I'm gonna go a little bit quick on this because this is not something you would be doing on your end, but it's just kind of an example to show you how this actually works. So we're gonna say on May 1st, they retired, and then I'm gonna click save. It's gonna warn me that I am retiring the person. And then now it says no current relationships. And that's because they no longer have a relationship with Local 61. So now what happens if Local 61 tries to pull this person, we will not see them. So you can see. Now I'm gonna switch here to the other local because I have access to both. And we're gonna pretend that I am working at the retiree local here. So this is what you would see on your end with no other extra work. Now what I can see here is if I search for Pink, I can see that Pink Panther actually, it's one of the members in my retiree local and part of my membership roster now. So what I can do, I can actually track all my new incoming members and actually do an outreach now and decide who are all these people that are coming in, right? Like who has come in right now and that I need to reach out and see if they're interested in contributing and being part of our active membership. And you can do that very easily by either tracking here. So you can see here, local dues category is blank. So because Connects is designed for live employer locals, the word dues will be used throughout, but it's interchangeable. There is no per capita, there is no actual dues. It's just a way of labeling things. But seeing that blank tells me that basically they're a new record that I haven't done anything with it. So that's how I differentiate that they're new. And in addition to that, I can filter here in the menu and I can select here who are my retired division paraeducators, who are my teachers that are inactive, who are my actives basically, and create a list very easily to export and to like enter it in Hustle, to enter it in Action Network, and so on. So that kind of gives us just a little bit of an idea. And what happens now, this information again flows back and forth to the AFL-CIO and the LAN. And as you can see here, all the way to the right, I'm seeing some political information automatically being inserted. So we started with no information, and now we have some records here that have the congressional district, the state senate district, state house district, which might be important in some of the political information. All right. So to wrap up here, we switch again, and here are some of the do's and don'ts for our file submission. So you do have the option of managing the data how you feel the most comfortable, and that is you can enter records yourself, you can maintain it yourself manually, or you can submit full files. When submitting full files, make sure you include the names and unique identifiers such as email addresses or anything that identifies the person specifically. Make sure that a clear structure is used. And what I mean by that is that, you know, if you're going to have divisions like teachers and paraprofessionals and maybe nurses or public employees, then make sure that that division exists and is listed on the file so that the output, you actually have the ability to track that and cut the list as such. And then make sure that, you know, the addresses are clean, and same thing for the names. I can share some of this. I can share templates as well via email. I'll send that to you all, to anyone that's interested. But at the same time, I just want to reiterate that we do provide full support for all of this. I know this is actually kind of foreign a little bit for most of us. And our team, we have different state leads actually. So depending on the state that you're in, then they are able to help you out and help you with the process of creating the file, the first steps, right? Uploading that file, getting set up and connect, providing training for yourself, providing training for anyone that will be helping you or later gets onboarded. We also have regularly webinars that provide full trainings for specific topics, including retirees. And we also have reports and lists and assist in any campaign or membership drive or anything else that you might need, in time. And again, I'll finish with what I started, which is start where you are. There is no such thing as perfect data. So whatever list you have right now is already data. And it's best to have it in an ecosystem that you can get something out of than to be isolated with that data. If you are interested in seeing all our tools available to you, you can use this link. The current form that I see on the webpage appears to not have the full form, but there is actually, sorry, I keep going back and forth here. There is actually a connect. You'll see here, once you click on that website, a connect logo. And if you go to that page, it will take you, I'm going to have to log out so that it can show you where it will take you. It will take you to the main page actually. And in the main page, you'll see here where it says, I would like to get connected. If you click on that, it takes you to a form that will get sent to that specific state lead that I was talking about. So it will put you directly in touch with the person that actually is assigned to your state so they can best help you with your data. And I will stop my share. I know that was a lot of information very fast. So.
Thank you, Louise. There is a question in the chat. I think you just answered it right after it was put up, but I'll put it out loud. I need this. How do I get training? And so that link that Louise just walked folks over to, even if you don't have a Connect account, which you wouldn't, right? You can request it through that link that Louise had just referenced. And I believe her, Elizabeth, you're Ohio, so it might be Louise that you get to work with. But if folks have questions, again, we want to put them in the chat, raise our hand visibly, or do the reactions raise hand feature. And please don't be shy, folks. I know this was a lot, so definitely feel free to ask your questions as they come up or as you're thinking about this.
Yeah, I have a question. How many people have access to this information?
So the access is actually on a local to local base. That means that it would be, let's say that you're the president of your local, you would have access to it. You decide within your local who has access to it, and that's it. So anyone else that needs access to it actually has to get permission from the president.
Okay. Thank you.
I see a question from Stacy.
So will members receive information from AFT once they're in that database as well?
What type of information, I guess? We don't have necessarily any mailers as of now that I know of for retiree division. That's the extent pretty much that we've used the data on a local membership level, such as like American Educator publication or the healthcare division publication. But other than that, we already have the data technically, if they're already members. So whatever information they've gotten before, we've already done, if that makes sense.
Okay, but they're not gonna get political stuff from AFT. They won't get, other stuff encouraging things.
No, so there is an option within Connect for you to unsubscribe if there is any kind of outreach or anything, like even publications. There is an option there to restrict contact that be by phone, restrict contact by mail, and restrict contact by email if you do not wish that person to receive anything. And that information actually trickles all the way up to AFL-CIO. So it doesn't stop all the way at the AFT level. Even AFL-CIO then will remove them from all the listings. That's the only way actually to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Got a question in the chat from Mike Caldor. Will AFT have access to this database? And yes, it's AFT's database, and Luis can back me up on this, but I'm pretty sure I have the right of it. So the database, basically how it works though, is like, for example, retiree wise, we have some access to look at the list and kind of generate like a picture of what's going on the ground, right? But we don't actually go into any of those unless someone asks us to, right? So like if I have a question about a local, I might look at the data, but I don't share it with anybody. We don't do any of that.
Right. We cannot edit, we cannot modify, we can't do anything with the records. All we can do is, view it in any case, but it's really only like Megan, me, and like a handful of people, even at AFT National. Not everyone has access to it, so.
Okay, I see Joyce and then Patricia.
Go ahead to Patricia.
Hi, Patricia.
Hi, everybody. Before I ask my question, can we have further meetings at Mike Caldor's Lake from now on? Secondly, I'm wondering, is this the Connect? I'm registering for the convention, and to find our membership numbers, I've been instructed to go to Connect. And unfortunately, like the retirees I think we're not listed in the Connect. Is that got anything to do with this?
Yep.
Because we're not active members, we're not on that Connect. Do we have a different Connect? I'm confused.
No, so there is, that's a good question. There is only one Connect, one hub basically where everything is. So the convention registration does actually utilize the Connect database to verify if someone is a member or not. If for whatever reason you are not listed, that means that the information was not provided by the local. So as an example, there might be retired members here that are not listed currently because that information has never been submitted into the database. And that would be a reason why a delegate or someone may not be able to register for convention. So.
Okay.
But we can, by the way, if you have an issue registering, just let me know, or like feel free to send, I can put my information in there. And Tish and I can actually look into it, see why you're having issues.
Thank you so much.
That's
Yeah, and that goes for everyone. You can reach out to Megan or I or Luis, and we all work as a team on these kind of troubleshooting things. So please reach out if you're having any issues.
Definitely.
And to follow up on Pat, by the way, Patricia is our extraordinary retiree president in Pittsburgh. She does an amazing job. We have in Pittsburgh, so we've accessed land, Luis, over the years for phone banking or whatever reason. And one thing we've noticed is pretty much according to AFT, Pat and one other person are the only two members of 400R. 400 is the Pittsburgh local. We refer to ourselves as 400R, but the rest of us have this 4-digit, I can't even remember what it is. Is there a generic number you assign to retirees if you think you don't know their local? Number one. And number two, is there some way to get those of us who aren't listed as 400R to be listed as 400R?
Yeah, so there is no generic number that we assign. So the membership ID that's generated, like once you're a member and you actually retire in good standing as a member, you are a member for life. So that same member ID actually carries over through life. And that means that if you're not appearing on 400R, either the record is still sitting at 400, maybe they have it still as a unit, right? Because we haven't actually separated the data. It doesn't mean that that's internally how they're doing it or politically. It just means that to us, that has not been, like, our data hasn't been actually separated.
Okay, we're talking about people whose retiree dates probably span a 15-year period. You know, so it's not like, oh, the new retirees, and we all have the same 4-digit number. So is Jeff, I think Jeff Coyne might be the PA person. He's with AFTPA, and we get a lot of our land information through him. So is there something we at the local need to do? And I don't want to hold up everybody else. So if there's something we can work out individually, give me.
Yeah, I think it is something we can do actually on a one-on-one basis, because I don't want to share information also on a call like this.
No, but I mean, there's a whole lot of people. We're talking hundreds of names.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
we can take a look, and then yeah, that's actually goes for everyone. We can do that, you know, forensics for the data, basically, to try and find where are the records, like, have they not been transferred? And that can happen for multiple reasons, you know. If you're not actively using Connect, that could be a big reason, because we just don't know it. Like, we don't know that those records need to be there, right? And we will be able to help you find the records. If they're not there, we can do a file upload like we were talking, like I mentioned earlier. And then that way you'll have those records in 400R, and you'll have them with the correct ID and everything. And I don't know what 4-digit number you're seeing.
I wish I could remember what it was, you know.
Okay.
I have a funny feeling it's 9005, Louise.
No, it is not.
Okay. Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah. I want to
I
say
was afraid they got done. That's the national bucket. And so sometimes folks end up in there and don't realize it. And so
I'm
that's
almost
what I was
positive
worried
that's
about.
not it, Megan. Now, granted, it's been several years since I've seen it. But anyway, I don't want to hold up everybody else, but hey, Louise.
Yeah.
Maybe we should hook up at some point.
Yes.
Closer to, you know, sometime during the summer.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right,
I put my email in the chat, so feel free to reach out directly as well. And yeah.
We are just hitting our 1 hour mark. Are there any last minute questions that folks want answers for? If you do have questions, you can also feel free to put them in the chat and we'll follow up with you. So that's another way to go today, since we are at 4:59, keeping these trains on time today. Definitely, though, please feel free to reach out to any of us in regard to your questions, concerns. We do try to be as available as possible to members. And so we try to get back to folks pretty quickly if we don't get them directly. So please kind of don't hesitate to reach out. We do have a small team, but we do our best to be efficient. Thank you all for attending. And if there's no further questions, that'll conclude today's presentations.